Design, Chapter 16. The purpose of this chapter is to introduce the hydrologies to procedure used in the United States for designing structures for safe and effective passage of flood flows. Give sufficient information for the designer to select applicable criteria for designing hydraulic structures. Provide a discussion design storm heterographs and provide methods for selecting the duration, depth, and distribution of precipitation for design. Demonstrate how design floods can be developed without using precipitation data. Discuss particular design methods including airport, drainage, urban storm, sewer design, and flood control reservoir design. Describe the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency floodplain management. Hydrologic design procedures. Procedures for estimating design floods flows. Interest can be in either the peak flow rate or the entire hydrograph. Include methods that examine historical or projected flood flows to arrive at a suitable estimate. Flow-based methods and methods that evaluate the storms that produce floods and then convert the storms to flood flow rates. Precipitation-based methods. In each case, the analysis can be based on selecting a design frequency and determining the associated flood, called frequency-based methods, developing designs for a range of flood frequencies, and narrowing the final choice on the basis of long-term costs and benefits, called risk-based methods, or designing on the basis of an estimate of the probable maximum storm or maximum flood that could occur at the site, called critical event methods. Minor structure design. Minor structure design is largely based on frequency-based or sometimes risk-based methods. Several steps in the hydrologic approach to minor structure design are common to most design handbooks and adopted techniques. The general steps are: number 1, determine the duration of the critical storm, usually equated to the time of concentration of the watershed. Number 2, choose the design frequency. Number 3, obtain the storm depth based on the selected frequency and duration. Number 4, compute the net direct runoff. Several methods were presented in Chapter 4. Number 5, select the time distribution of the rainfall excess. Number 6, synthesize the unit hydrograph for the watershed. Number 7, apply the derived rainfall excess pattern to the synthetic unit hydrograph to get the runoff hydrograph. Number 8, establish the frequency of the calculated flood, usually assumed equal to the design storm frequency. Major structure design. Hydrologic design aspects of major structures are considerably more complex than those of a small dam, crossroad, road, culvert, or urban drainage system. A design storm hydrograph for our large dams still is required, but it is put to greater use. The design storm hydrograph is rooted to determine the adequacy of spillways and outlets operated in conjunction with reservoir storage. The economic selection of the spillway size from the various possibilities dictates the final design and is function of the degree of protection provided for downstream life and property, project economy, agency policy, and construction standards, and reservoir operational requirements. Major structure design is largely based on critical event methods. Next is water resource system design. Most information and techniques presented in this chapter are directed toward the flood protection aspect of small and large structures. Needless to say, a major structure is designed for more than just flood protection. It is multi-purpose and may provide storage for irrigation, power, water supply, navigation, and flow augmentation. The proper allocation of storage to these uses requires an understanding of the entire stream flow history in terms of the frequency of occurrence of low flows and average monthly, seasonal, and yearly flows, as well as the historical and design floods. Next, flow-based methods. For design locations where records of stream flows are available or where flows from another basin can be transported to the design location, a design flood magnitude can be estimated directly from the stream flows by any of the following methods. Number 1, frequency analysis of the flood flows at the design location or from a similar basin in the region. Number 2, use regional flood frequency equations normally developed from the regression analysis of gauge flood data. Number 3, examine of the stream and floodplain for size of highest historical floods and estimation of flood rates using measurements of cross-section and slope of the stream. Precipitation-based methods. Typical methods include design using greatest storm of record at the site by converting the precipitation to runoff. Number 2, transportation of a severe historical storm from another similar watershed in the region. Number 3, frequently analysis of precipitation and conversion of design storm to runoff. Number 4, use of a theoretical probable maximum precipitation or fraction of PMP based on meteorological analysis. Frequency-based methods. Regardless of whether flow or precipitation data are used, design most often proceed by selecting a minimum acceptable recurrence interval and using procedures from Chapter 27 to determine the corresponding worst condition storm or flood that could be equaled or exceeded during the selected recurrence interval. Criteria for selecting design recurrence intervals are summarized in section 16.3. Results from frequency analysis of flood flow data normally provide reliable estimates of 2, 5, 10, and 25-year flows. Extrapolation beyond the range of the period of flow records is allowed, but is less reliable. Risk-based methods. Recent trends in the design of minor and major structures are toward the use of economic risk analysis rather than frequency-based design. The risk methods select the structure size as what which minimize, minimize total expected costs. These are made up of the structure cost plus the potential flood losses associated with the particular structure. Critical event methods. Because of the high risk to lives of property below major structure, their design generally includes provisions for a flood caused by a combination of the most severe meteorologic and hydrologic conditions that are possible. Instead of designing for some frequency or least expected total cost, flood handling facilities for the structures are sized to safety store or pass the most critical storm or flood possible. Methods for designing by critical event techniques include number 1, estimating the probable maximum precipitation and determining the associated flood flow rates and volumes by transforming the precipitation to runoff. Number 2, determining the probable maximum flood by determining the PMP and converting it to a flood by application of a rainfall runoff model, including snow melt runoff if pertinent. Number 3, examining the floodplain and stream to identify paleo flood evidence such as high water marks, boulder marks or trees or banks, debris lines, historical accounts by local residents or geologic or geomorphologic evidences. Number 4, in some cases, the critical event method involves estimating the magnitude of the 500-year event by various frequency or approximate methods, often such as in mapping floodplains. The 500-year flood is estimated as a multiple of the 100-year event, ranging from 1.5 to 2.5 due to lack of longer-term records. Frequency-based estimates are seldom attempted for recurrence intervals exceeding 500 years. Data for hydrologic design. The design of any structure requires a certain amount of data, even if only a field estimate of the drainage area and a description of terrain type and cover. The following material identifies some general data types and sources. Physiographic data. Hydrologic study for any structure requires a reliable topographic map. United States Geological Survey topographic maps usually are available. The mapping of the United States is almost complete with 15-minute quadrangles, and many of these are mapped by 7.5-minute quadrangles. County maps and aerial photos can also be used to advantage in making preliminary studies of the watershed. Hydrologic data. One difficulty in hydrologic design is that of getting data for region under study. Considerable data can be acquired from previously published reports issued by governmental agency and or university. The following is a list of federal agencies that publish hydrologic data. Agri- Agricultural Research Service, Soil Conservation Service, Forest Service, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Bureau of Reclamation, Department of Transportation, U.S. Geological Survey Topographic Division, U.S. Geological Survey Water Resources Division. Additional data often can be procured from departments of state, governments, interstate commissions, and regional and local agencies. Meteorologic data. The National Weather Service, couched in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is the primary source of meteorologic data published in a variety of forms, including their Hydrometeorologic Report series. Hydrologic design frequency criteria. Selection of frequency for the design of a structure is most often based on potential damage to property, danger to life, and economic losses such as interruption of commerce. A standard of practice involves selection of frequency, then designing for the worst condition expected to occur for that frequency. Where danger to life is involved, a great amount of controversy exists over appropriate design standards. Large dams. Dams required hydrologic analysis during the design of the original structure and during periodic safety evaluation. Significant economic and human losses are possible when large quantities of water are rapidly released from storage. Initial heights of retarded water behind the dam, disregarding the total volume of stored water, can produce destructive flood waves for a considerable distance downstream. Based on two criteria, the Task Force on Spillway Design Floods recommended the classification of large dams as listed in Table 16.2. The type of construction has not been included in this grouping, although it affects the extent of failure resulting from overtopping. Many of the federal agencies have adopted definition for hydraulic elements of dams. The following list is used by the Soil Conservation Service. A spillway is an open or closed channel or both used to convey excess water from a reservoir. It may contain gates either manually or automatically controlled to regulate the discharge of excess water. The principal spillway is the ungated spillway designed to convey the water from the retarding pool at release rates established for the structure. The emergency spillway of a dam is a spillway designed to convey water in excess of that impounded for flood control or other beneficial purposes. The retarding pool is the reservoir space allotted to the temporary impoundment of floodwater. Its upper limit is the elevation of the crest of the emergency spillway. Retarding storage is the volume in the retarding pool. The sediment pool is the reservoir space allotted to accumulation of incoming sediment during the life of the structure. Sediment storage is the volume allocated to total sediment accumulation. Sediment pool elevation is the elevation of the surface of the anticipated sediment accumulation at the dam. An earth spillway is an unvegetated open channel spillway in earth materials. A vegetated spillway is a vegetated open channel spillway constructed of earth materials. A ramp spillway is vegetated spillway constructed on the downstream face of an earth dam. The control section in an open channel spillway is the section where accelerated flow passes through critical depth. The inlet channel of an emergency spillway is the channel upstream from the control section. Small dams. Small dams customarily are designed using two or more levels of frequency to provide an emergency spillway ensure an adequate allowable freeboard. Class A structures located in rural or agricultural areas where failure might damage farm buildings, agricultural land, or township or country roads. Class B structures located in predominantly rural or agricultural areas where failure might damage isolated homes, main highways or minor trail roads or cause interruption of use or service of relatively important public utilities. Class C structure located where failure might cause loss of life, serious damage of homes, industrial and commercial buildings, important public utilities, main highways or railroads. Estimates of PMP are based on an investigation of the U.S. Weather Bureau conducted to establish the maximum possible amount of precipitable water that could be achieved throughout the United States. Major structures. Three general terms described in Table 16.2 are employed to designate design flood for major structure. Number 1, the probable maximum flood. Number 2, the standard project flood. And number 3, the frequency-based flood. The concept of flood in this section is described by an entire discharge hydrograph that is generally synthesized from rainfall estimates. Corresponding to the three flood designations are the storm values, that is, the depth of rainfall referred to in terms of number 1, the probable maximum precipitation PMP, Number 2, the standard project storm SPS. And number 3, the frequency-based storm. Design of the reservoir system components is commonly based on one of these representative terms. Description of each are given in the next section in design storms. Design storms. Once a design frequency has been established, the next step is in a structure design is the determination of 6 storm parameters. The storm duration, the duration of rainfall excess, the point depth, any areal depth adjustment, the storm intensity and time distribution, and the areal distribution pattern. Duration. The length of storm used by the SCS in designing emergency and freeboard hydrographs for small dams is of 6 hour duration of TC. Whichever is greater, often the minor structure being designed cannot be justified economically on the basis of this length of storm. For many minor structure, particularly urban drainage structure, a design flood hydrograph is based on a storm duration equal to the time of concentration of the watershed. This procedure uses the rational method of Chapter 15 or the synthetic unit hydrographs of Chapter 12 along with a critical storm pattern procedure produced by arranging the rainfall excess pattern into the most critical sequence. The SCS uses 24-hour durations for all urban watershed studies. Durations of approximately 6 hours or less are satisfactory for small watersheds, but the lengths of storm in large areas require storm depths for periods of up to 10 days. Frequency-based values are available for duration of from 2 to 10 days for locations within the United States. Similar data are also available for other selected areas outside the United States. Generally, however, the design criteria for large dams require estimates of storm depths that do not have frequency level assigned. Duration of rainfall excess. Initial rainfall during most storms infiltrates or is otherwise obstructed, and the duration of excess rain T0 is less than the actual rain duration by an amount equal to the time that initial obstructions occur. Excess rain duration TO can be estimated for an 6-hour storm as a function of the curve number Cn and precipitation P from depth. The probable maximum precipitation or frequency-based 100-year 6-hour storm depths at any point can be determined from figure 16.6 and 16.7. A convenient means of obtaining storm depths for duration other than 6 hours is to use a table or graph of multipliers for a various duration. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation applies that multipliers in table 16.8 to the PMP from figure 16.6 to determine other duration PMP depths for areas west of the 105-degree meridian. Similar USBR data east of the meridian are not available. IDF relationships. For short duration storms over small areas, the most convenient method of determining storm depth is to acquire the intensity duration frequency curve for the local enter the graph with the selected duration and frequency and convert the resulting intensity to depth of rain over the selected duration. Area adjustment in the depth. Aerial adjustment. The rainfall depths shown in figure 16.6 and 16.7 were derived from frequency analysis of point measurements and are considered to be applicable for larger watershed. The aerial depths are less adjustment must be made to account for smaller rainfall depths over larger areas. Duration frequency curves define the rain intensities for delta T, 2 delta T, 3 delta T, etc. Increments of time and then to organize these blocks of rain intensities in some pattern, usually symmetrical, around the center of the storm, making sure that the area under the heterograph is equal to design storm depth P, spread over the design storm duration D. To apply the procedure, successive depths of equal probability storm with duration of delta T, 2 delta T, 3 delta T, 4 delta T are determined from the IDF curve and tabulated. Next, any of a variety of procedures such as the alternating block method, the Chicago method, or the balance method are available for distributing these blocks and assuring that the total rain depth equals P. Most assume that the highest. Triangular distribution. The simplest design storm distribution is a triangular shape because the depth P and duration D of rain are already established the peak intensity found by solving for the height of the triangular heterograph as shown in figure 16.21. The only remaining decision is the time to the peak. TP, the ratio TP over D has been investigated for a larger numbers of storms. Values range from about 0.3 to 0.5. Once the triangle is constructed, the intensities at regular intervals may be graphically or analytically determined for input to the rainfall runoff model being used for design. Block IDF distributions, a frequently used procedure for developing a design storm distribution for short duration storms up to about 2 hours is to accessibly construct blocks of a design storm histograph by using the appropriate intensity. Time distribution. After the storm depth and duration have been established, the designer must select a representative heterograph. The choice will significantly affect the shape and peak value of the resulting runoff hydrograph. Any decision must be based on either the worst possible storm pattern or an analysis of recorded storm distribution patterns. Hoff divided recorded storm distribution patterns from small Midwestern watersheds into four equal probability groups from the most severe first quartile to the mildest fourth quartile. The median curve for the first quartile storm is given in the figure 16.14, which is used for example in the RRL and ILUDA's simulation models of chapter 25.
Critical event methods. For some structures, such as large dams, design of the flood handling facilities by frequency-based methods is not appropriate. For any fixed frequency, a flood exceeding the design level is possible and may have catastrophic consequences. These methods include the use of the probable maximum precipitation or PMP, probable maximum flood or PMF, record high storm depths, record high floods, multiple frequencies based floods, and paleohydrology. Probable maximum precipitation. Depths for drainage basins in the United States are provided in the respective National Weather Service HMRS 20. The probable maximum storm is defined as the most severe storm considered reasonably possible to occur. The resulting probable maximum flood is customarily obtained by using unit hydrographs and the rainfall estimates of the PMP prepared by the National Weather Service. A proposed method to estimate PMP advocated by Hersheyfield suggests that the 24-hour PMP at a point be computed by the equation PMP 24 is equals to P plus KSN, where PMP 24 is equals to the 24-hour probable maximum precipitation. P means the 24-hour annual maximums over the period of record. K is a constant equal to 15, and S is the standard deviation of the 24 annual maximums. Adjustments to the value of PNS for the record length are not noted by Hirschfeld. However, for appraisal purpose, these adjustments probably will not significantly alter results more than 5 to 10%. Record extremes Krieger and Crippen and Bew envelope curves, where frequency-based methods of PMP and PMF studies are unwarranted. Design for critical events can be based on the greatest record drain or flood flow for the location. Similarly, tables or curves of flood data can be developed to give the maximum floods of record in the region under study. In cases where estimates of PMP had not been made, volumes of rainfall to be expected also be approximated from Krieger rainfall, envelope curves of the world record rainfalls, maximum flood flow data for 883 sites up to 25,900 square kilometers form the basis for the Crippen and Bew envelope equation, given by QP is equals to 10 quantity C1 plus C2 logarithm of AC 3 quantity logarithm of A times 2 plus C4 quantity logarithm of A times 3 quantity, where Q is the maximum flow of A is the drainage area. Standard project storm. This is another rainfall depth that is used in the design of large dams. This value is usually obtained from a survey of severe storms in the general vicinity of the drainage basin. The storm selected as the SPS may be oriented to produce the maximum amount of a runoff of the SPF. This is a table of coefficient for Crippen view peaks discharge by envelope curves. Transposition limits are based on climatological similarity, synchronic weather patterns, and the knowledge of atmospheric processes. A number of severe storms are selected from the storms of record. The depth area duration of curves for these are developed and presented in graphical form, usually for a particular point location within the basin, referred to as an index point. This position is used as a reference location for further calculating regarding the SPS. The SPS differs from a PMP estimates and is patterned after a storm of record that causes the most severe rainfall depth area duration relation. Appropriate allowance should be made for inclusion of snowmelt in calculating design storm hydrographs from the standard project storm. Generally, the standard project storm rainfall is approximately 50% of the PMP. Records of the 4 or 5 largest storms should be in critical examined to find a suitable composite for use in calculating the SPS. When these data are not available, a reasonable percentage of the PMP can be submitted. So, frequency-based flood for high-hazard dams. The federal agency standard for designing and evaluating spillway capacities for dams of high hazard potential has been the PMF. The use of such a conservative standard has been challenged, especially with concern over the need and cost to modify existing federally licensed dams so that they safely pass the probable maximum flood. A committee of the National Research Council recommended the continued use of the PMF as the general design standard for proposed high-hazard dams. 22 for existing high-hazard dams. The committee recommended that design should take into account estimated flood probabilities, expected project performances, and incremental damages that would result from dam failure for a range of floods up to and including the probable maximum flood. Paleohydrology is the study of floods that occurred prior to the time of direct measurement or historical documentation. Such studies infer flood magnitude from the visible effects of ancient floods on landscapes, vegetation, soils, deposited sediments, or even man-made structures. 24 types of indicator paleofluids include slack, of, slack water, sand, and slit deposits that result from deposition of suspended sediments transporting during extreme floods. Stratigraphic anomalies such as organic layers, tributary alluvium, mud cracks, bed forms, such as ripples or dunes, or rounded gravel or cobble deposits. Plant transported litter such as organic materials, buried trees, compound found only in buried soils, and archaeological debris or refuse. High water marks from ancient floods such as rock or floating debris, scars on tree trunks, floating debris deposits, sediment deposits in the elevated caves, and scar lines or other disturbances along canyon or terrace walls. Airport drainage system. Airport drainage is required to dispose of surface water and minimize the interruption of traffic into and out of the area. The total drainage system has several functions. 1. Collect and carry up surface water, remove excess groundwater, lower the water table, and protect all slopes from erosion. Only the problem of collecting and removing the surface water is discussed here. The design is most The design of most airport drains relies on the rational method, although some efforts are being made to evaluate this system by means of other techniques. Drainage calculations are usually based on collected rainfall data and a 1 feet contour topographic map of the proposed finish site. The entire system of drainage is outlined on this map with the proper identification of sub-areas, main and lateral storm drains, direction flow, gradients, inlets, and surface channels. The final design is attained by calculating the most reasonable cost to provide satisfactory drainage. Design of urban storm drain systems. Storm drainage for urban areas are starts as sheet flow on paved areas. These flows combined with flows from rooftops and hydrographs from previous zones, forming inflow to surface swales or open straight gutters. For floods up to the design frequency, surface runoff enters storm sewers through straight inlets or outlets from detention or retention storage areas. Most modern storm drain design incorporates these types of facilities to keep runoff from minor storms off streets and parking lots. For major storms, good system designs incorporate facilities to handle the overflow at storm sewer inlets, as well as regional stormwater detention and retention facilities for 25, 50, or even 100-year events. The calculation of individual hydrographs to the inlet of each section is influenced by the infiltration capacity of the previous areas, overland flow delays, depression storage, detention in gutters, house drains, catch basins, and the storm sewer systems and interception and intensively landscape locations. So first, the infiltration. The ability of the soil infiltrate water depends on how many characteristics of the soil as noted in Chapter 3. The range of values given in the following table is typical of various bare soils after 1 hour of continuous rainfall. Number 2 is retention. This is usually assumed to be a 0.10 inch for previous surfaces such as lawns and normal urban previous surfaces. Floodplain analysis. Due to heavy monetary and other floodplain losses over the years, the federal government has been conducting studies of floodplains on the nation's waterways and methods for protecting life and property and preventing overdevelopment that causes increased water levels and more widespread flooding. Hydrology is a key ingredient in the studies for identifying potential flow rates, studying effects of dams, open channels, and other water control structures on hydrographs, and determining volumes of floodwaters that will need to be safely stored and conveyed by the waterway of floodplains. Due to heavy monetary and other floodplain losses over the years, the federal government has been conducting studies of floodplains of the nation's waterways and methods of protecting life and property and preventing overdevelopment that cause increased water levels and more widespread flooding. Hydrology is a key ingredient in these studies for identifying potential flow rates, studying effects of dams, Open channels and other water control structures on hydrographs determining volumes of floodwaters that will need to be safely stored and conveyed by the waterways and floodplains. The floodplain mapping effort produced a large amount of data and analysis useful to design hydrologies. The products of the programs include the 10 to 50, 100, and 500-year frequency discharge streams for streams. The 10-year, 50-year, 100-year, and 500-year flood elevations for riverine, coastal, and lacustrine floodplains. The 100 and 500-year map floodplain delineations at scales ranging from 1 to 4,800 to 1 to 24,000. The 100-year floodway data and mapping, coastal high hazard area mapping, floodway flow velocities, and insurance risk zones. Hydrology for floodplain studies. Flood flow frequency estimates for gauge locations in NFIP studies are based on log Pearson type analysis of stream flow records. Annual peak flows and historical data are fitted according to procedures recommended by FEMA. U.S. flood hazards. Despite considerable effort and expenditure in identification of floodplains and flood hazard areas, dam failures and other catastrophes continue to result in severe damage to life, property, and the environment. Floods from hurricanes, intense rainstorms, and rapid snowmelt or structure failure have all contributed to the loss of life. A tabulation of events causing more than 100 deaths in the United States is provided in Table 16.15. As indicated, the majority are hurricane-related principality concentrated in the East Coast and Gulf Mexico regions as shown in Figure 16.39. This is the flood causing 100 or more deaths in the United States and the number by state of major hurricanes in the United States. Dam break hazards. This is the list the outflow rates, peak depth, and storage at the time of failure for 18 significant dam failures in the United States. The death rate for the dam failures is related to the population at risk according to PAR. This term describes those people who would need to take some action to avoid the rising water. So overall, much of the material presented in the hydrology textbook is introduced to define hydrologic principles that should be understood by engineers before attempting to design hydraulic structures. This chapter compiles these principles into a set of basic tenets for design of major and minor hydraulic structures. For design using streamflow records, the analyst need only select the basis of frequency-based, risk-based critical event design, and then couple the procedures described here with those chapters 15, 26, and 27. Design analysis that require transformation of precipitation data to stream flows can proceed by integrating procedures developed in Chapter 12, 13, and 14, and the design storm methods presented here into the models of documented in Chapter 22 and 23, 24, and 25. The design storm depth, duration, error coverage, time distribution, and orientation prescribed here are necessary to successfully complete the rainfall runoff simulations. That's all. Thank you.